Why some in 1981 are functionally Gen X, a UK schooling perspective. There's only one way someone born in 1981 can be considered functionally a part of Gen X, and it all comes down to the UK's academic cutoff date of September the 1st. Here is how I see it. Those who were born in 1980 were the dusk of Gen X, while some born in 1981, particularly those in the same school year, were the last dying embers of that generation. In that final Gen X year, kids born in 1980 and 1981 shared everything. 32 hours a week in the same classrooms, the same teachers, the same trends, and the same cultural influences, the same peer norms, jokes, and social hierarchies. After school, you mostly stuck with kids in your own year group. Sure, you might have played with kids born in 1982 or later, but you didn't spend nearly as much time with them. They weren't a part of your daily microsystem, the immediate environment that shapes who you are, a concept from Bronford Brennard's ecological system theory. Why this matters psychologically? Research shows that peer ranking within school years has a lasting impact on identity. This is laid out in Murphy and Weinhardt 2020. If you were born in 1981 but grouped with 1980 kids, you absorbed their cultural mindset, not the one developing among those born just a year or two later on. Basically meaning anyone born 1982 and onwards would share less of a cultural mindset and less chance of absorbing the characteristics of that generation. That's not to say that unusual circumstances could affect them in a similar way, but that would be a stretch. The historical divide. The last true Gen X school year, consisting of children born in 1980 and 1981. The Cold War end, with the Berlin Wall falling in 1989. Analog childhood. No internet, just arcades, LPs and mixtapes. MTV birth in 1981. Gen X's cultural heartbeat. MTV was more of an American thing. From a British perspective, those who wanted MTV would have to have got B-Sky B or some other kind of satellite television. And for working class and middle class people, they were priced out of the market. So what did we watch instead? We watched things like the ITV Sunday chart show, which was more geared towards alternative music, rock, metal, and some goth. We also had Top of the Pops, which had been going since the 60s. Meanwhile, those born in 1982 and onwards entered school in a world shifting towards Windows 95, dial-up internet, CDs, and Britpop, a fundamental different experience. Demographers might insist that 1981 equals millennial, but the UK school system tells a different story. If you were born in early 1981 and grouped with 1980 kids, you weren't just around Gen X, you were Gen X, because your daily reality was theirs. And to be honest, your peers saw you as one of them. So I made this video to kind of lay out the reasoning why I believe those born in 1981 are Gen X, using facts, psychology, and reasoning, not just feelings. And a lot of people who are born later on, like my brothers, and I have 3 of them born throughout 1980s, from 1982 to 1988, and sure, they have some of the cloth that I have, and I was born in 1981, but my cloth is pretty much exactly the same as those born in 1980 for the system I was born into. But for them, they are made of a different cloth. They may have similar parts of my cloth woven into them, but they are clearly something different. For those who were born later in the 80s, with each year which passes from 1981, the claim of being Gen X is harder to justify, for you will be lacking from a psychological and social standpoint. I have laid out in this video, with each passing year from 1980, the personal claim of being Gen X diminishes each year substantially. What goes wrong with a lot of people is where they become fixated with objects during that time. Interacting with objects during the 80s and having level of social interactions across the board are two different things.
I'm sure you've heard the words, "This is the way." But have you ever stopped to feel their weight? The Mandalorian is more than a story, it's a code. A creed about loyalty, found family, and the journey of redemption. So as we wrap up, remember, whether you're forging your own path or standing by those who matter most is the way. Hit subscribe, and let's explore the galaxy together.